Hello and welcome to my top 5 warriors list. This list is based on everything from personality, story to gameplay, so it's more a list of my favorites rather than the very best units. Just like my previous list of top generals, this is a top 5 and not a top 10. Warriors have been pretty bad in some games, so it's a class I don't always use. Like usually, I don't include characters from games I haven't played yet, so any characters from Fates won't be in this list. I know Fates has finally been released here in Europe, but I ordered my copy from another country, so my copy hasn't arrived yet. I can't wait until I get to enjoy the game with everyone else. Also, there might be spoilers in the video, so you have been warned. There's no honorable mentions this time. Like I said earlier, I don't use warriors enough to make a top 10, so I don't have enough of them to have honorable mentions either. With that said, let's begin. Starting off the list with a character that arrives trained and ready to use. Masilleo from Fire Emblem Awakening is one of the ruling Khans of Ferox, and one of the more important characters story-wise in Awakening. He's a straightforward and helpful man that assists Chrom and company several times during the story, most notably being when he helps in fooling Validor by switching the gems on the Fire Emblem. Masilleo arrives late in the game as a playable unit. If you have lost many units, he could be a lifesaver for you, otherwise you probably won't find much use for him since you probably have many better units already. He's a decent unit that doesn't really stand out, but isn't bad either. I haven't used him that many times, but when I did, he had no troubles with few chapters left. Since he isn't anything special gameplay-wise, he only got a 5th place on this list, but he's probably the warrior character that has been the most important in the whole series story-wise. Next up is Ujala from Fire Emblem Genealogy of the Holy War. Ujala is a character from the 2nd generation and the only playable warrior in the game. He's not a shell of any playable character from the 1st generation, and he can't use a holy weapon, so Ujala will not be the best unit in your army. Ujala is recruited by Larky early on in the 2nd generation. He's on the enemy side before he's recruited, but he didn't like how they were treating the people of Isaac, and when Larky talks with him, he decides to join the rebel army. If you recruit Ujala, you won't be able to recruit his brother Johan, and if you recruit Johan, you won't be able to recruit Ujala. In a game like Genealogy of the Holy War, where horse units are important, many people probably prefer Johan over Ujala. Since I always paired Larky with the one of them I recruit, having a horse doesn't really matter much to me, since they will be going with Larky a lot, who's a foot unit. Either way, it doesn't really matter much, since the brothers will fall behind other units later in the game. Early on, Ujala can be a really useful unit. He's really strong and his defense is pretty good as well. Since he'll be your only axe unit in the game, he can buy whatever axe he wants, so he can get some pretty good weapons. As the only warrior in the game that manages well despite not having a Gen 1 parent and no holy weapon, Ujala deserves a spot on this list for me. I can't place him too high though, with there being so many other better units in his games. Out of the warriors in his game, Barz is really the best one. Of the 3 fighters that join early on in Shadow Dragon, Barz is the only one you should bother training. He's powerful and has a lot of HP, so he can take a few hits in a game where many units have a hard time avoiding. He doesn't have much of a background story or personality. This is the case for the majority of the characters from the game he appears in though. It's gameplay that has given Barz a 3rd place on my list. As a warrior, he'll have amazing strength and HP. His defense and resistance aren't too good, but he has alright skill and speed. Barz always gets the spot as my axe user in Shadow Dragon, and usually the spot as my bow user as well, since I don't use any archers in the game. I never used him in any of the other games he appears in, so I can't really speak for him in those, but Barz's usefulness in Shadow Dragon was enough for him to take the 3rd spot on my list. 2nd place goes to Vake from Fire Emblem Awakening. Vake's not the brightest character around, but he's not stupid either. He's a guy with a big ego, but he's still a nice guy and good friend. He likes to compete and train with others, and he's usually in a good mood. As a unit, he's pretty good. While it's not the very best unit, I can't remember ever having a bad Vake. He has never let me down in a playthrough, so he's someone you can count on. Not only is he good on his own, but Vake is a pretty good support unit as well. He gives a really nice strength boost when pairing up with someone, and he also passes down a lot of strength to his potential child in the 2nd generation. Compared to Masilleo, Vake is available for the majority of the game, and he'll probably end up much better. Vake can also be paired with anyone, so you're a bit more free with him as opposed to Masilleo. Vake has a personality that you either like or dislike, so I can see why others hate him. Personally, I found him okay, and I often use him when playing Awakening. There aren't that many warriors I found really good in their games, and with Vake being someone I liked personality-wise and gameplay-wise, he deserved my second place. So my first place was a given. This is one of the spots that was reserved for a certain character before I even started making these lists. I lost count of how many times Boyd has won my kill count in Path of Radiance and scored in the top 5 in Radiant Dawn. Boyd makes many of the other warriors in the series look like a joke. He's that amazing. He's a somewhat lazy guy, but straightforward and friendly. Boyd is not afraid to speak his mind, and he can be seen interacting with different kinds of people. He's the middle brother of the Green Mercenaries' 3 brothers, all whom have appeared in my lists now. I've always liked the brothers a lot, and I always end up using them in both games. Out of the 3 of them, Boyd often ends up being the best one for me. Like any warrior, he's got great strength and HP. He can have trouble with speed sometimes, but it's usually decent. His skill, on the other hand, usually turns out really good, especially compared to other warriors. Boyd has no trouble in killing enemies. The ones that would hurt him pretty much always gets one-hit KO'd by him, and the ones that he can't kill in one hit gets doubled by him. If he were to take damage, he's got the HP to survive it without being in danger. Along with his 2 brothers, he can perform a devastating triangle attack that is really useful for defeating the tougher bosses in the games, like the Ginsia. As the only one of his class to score in the top 5 in his games, often even winning, Boyd was an obvious choice for the first place on this list. No other warrior in the series compares to him. He's one of my favorite characters in 2 of my favorite Fire Emblem games, so this list was pretty much made solely for him, and therefore there was no other winner for me. That's all for my top 5 warriors list. Thank you for watching my video. You probably have a different opinion from mine, so do feel free to leave a comment about it if you want. I love hearing about other people's thoughts, so don't be afraid to share yours. Once again, thanks for watching my video. Feel free to watch some of my other videos if you have nothing better to do.